welcome to Labor Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week edition of the program, we'll be focusing on the prospects and challenges of healthcare workers in Nigeria. We also have news stories for you. We will be right back.
These 10 CNG-powered buses now belong to the 6 states that make up the Northeast Zone, as donated by the federal government to ease mobility challenges. This is part of the agreements reached between the Nigeria Labour Congress and federal government following subsidy removal. Speaking at the inauguration ceremony, the Nigerian Labour Congress president asked both the federal and Adamawa state government to do more, emphasizing the need for additional buses. Mr. Ajaero also commended the Adamawa state government for its cooperation with the Nigerian Labour Congress and its commitment to workers' welfare.
As we are commissioning this one here today, just like other states, there are no filling stations where CNG is being dispensed. And now the essence of having CNG buses will be defeated if there are no CNG filling stations where we can refill it. We'll go back to square zero, buying PMS at the cutthroat prices. So I plead.
Governor Ahmadu Fintiri of Adamawa, represented by his Chief of Staff, Edgar Amos, welcomed the initiative and called for more CNG buses to be deployed to the region. Chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress Adamawa chapter, Emmanuel Fashe, believes that the newly introduced CNG buses would help alleviate transportation challenges in the state.
We call on the federal government to be more sensitive in the formulation and implementation of its policies and programs to ensure that they do not cause more pain to workers or ordinary Nigerians. You will agree with me, today's occasion is unprecedented, of course, as far as I know, in the history of labor women as far as the state is concerned. And of course, I dare say in Nigeria.
The Nigerian Labour Congress president also shares the outcome of the meeting with the communication service providers.
Came out from engaging them, and they agreed to reverse to 35% from the 50%. We were told that they asked for 100%, and the federal government gave them 50%. And to them, it is Bible. It's not anybody can do. But so far, we've been able to engage them to 35%, which is to take effect from March 1st.
The move has been commended by residents of the Northeast region, but wants the federal government to increase the number of buses.
Nigeria. The Director General of the National Directorate of Employment NDE, Silas Agara, has reiterated the commitment of the agency to collaborate with the armed forces in providing specialized skills for Nigerians. He made the commitment during a visit by members of the Advisory Board of Operation Safe Corridor to the management of NDE, in recognition of the agency's immense support over the years.
To support the 3 stages of what we are doing, reintegration, de-radicalization, process of these repentant criminals is what we stand to do with you. We have the capacity, we have the manpower, we have the facilities that will enable smooth operation of those processes. And I want to assure you that not just because we are part of the Operation Safe Corridor, but the fact that you are doing a very big tax that is adding value to the system will make our facilities open and available at any time that you will need the support of NDE.
Members of the board, led by Brigadier General Yusuf Ali, want a better collaboration on the future of the rehabilitation and reintegration of repentant insurgents in Nigeria. Since 2016, both agencies have been involved in structured pathway for former combat to disengage from armed groups through de-radicalization, vocational training, and psychological support to help them build their lives and reintegrate into the society.
The mindset needs to be reprogrammed and changed so that they can see alternative and better ways towards pursuing their aspirations than violence. Then, whilst there, we also try to make them useful to themselves and to the society at the end of their stay with us there by providing skills for them so that they can be of use to the society.
For the doctors, they probably feel that if they go abroad, it's a better place for them and all that. But like what we heard today, especially from Mr. Leke Alda, we are a blessed nation. The only thing we need to do is come into the terms that we need to change our minds and help make our country great. That's all I can say. That's all. I don't support it. We should stay and work on what we have and do well with what we have and make sure that Nigeria is greater than what we have now. We can't be thinking that what we have now is not good enough, so we could just go. You know, the doctors and all. Even talking about everybody, people are jackbuying. Everybody feels that it's better for them to move to other countries to be able to do well. But we need to change our mind and believe that our nation can be better.
I may intend to go leave the country to do something, but while getting there, my whole trajectory may change, or I may want to be or become something else. So personally, on a personal level, I wouldn't say I support or I did not support, because decisions are individualistic and we tend to want to do something else, even if we started with a different purpose at the beginning. So on the context of health workers, I think we are just following our individual paths, and when someone can get there and choose to come back or may not want to come back. So it's personal bias and decisions.
For the younger ones leaving Nigeria, probably going to the health workers rather, leaving Nigeria to go to other countries, I rather advise that even if you want to leave, acquire the knowledge and bring it back home so that yes, it can be useful and relevant to the upcoming one. Instead of just living permanently, why not come back and repair your own country and make it a better place? So what you see over there, why not come back home and replicate that? And yes, definitely, I believe Nigeria will be great one day.
Condition in Nigeria is not very favorable for any worker, even medical workers. So it's completely irrational for them to want to move out to find greener pasture. But the thing is that for Nigeria to be built, we have to have our brain people in this country, the medical workers and other people, to be in this country to work with the country to make it work out. But then the environment is not very favorable because the governments are not really doing well. So I think for we to really work well, the government has to provide an environment of opportunity that will help the country to be favorable for workers to work well. And I think that's just the key to the question. For the government to come together and make the country favorable for opportunities, possibilities, innovation, so that even every worker will want to come here and make it work out. So
On the Profile interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the President of the Medical and Health Workers Union of Nigeria alongside the Secretary General of the Union. They both will be sharing their expectations from various stakeholders in the healthcare sector as regards the well-being of their members. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. My pleasure having you.
Yeah, so talking about the world of work, when it comes to the health workers, there are reports of infectious diseases around us as we speak, not just in Nigeria, but in Africa. When it comes to the welfare of health workers, as a leader of workers, what would be your recommendations to government and relevant stakeholders in the industry?
Thank you very much, Sharon. I think let me begin by saying the issue of infectious diseases suffixing in Africa is very natural. There is no way you can do away with infectious diseases. Professionally, we call them communicable or transmissible diseases. Once there is a life, human life or animal life, there must be an issue of diseases. Coming to the issue of what relevant governments will do to address the issue, I think this is a very, very serious one, because our government tend to be very lazy in aspect of health sector. You can agree with me that a reasonable portion of percentages is coming from donors, while I think if there is any health challenge, before you know it, international bodies are donating a reasonable amount of funds to probably address the issue. So what I'm trying to say is it is high time for government at the African level or region to be on their feet financially. You can also agree with me just of recent, I think the President of the United States of America decided to opt out from WHO, which there is no way it might not affect the health system in African countries, because America is playing a very significant role financially, materially, and even with equipment to help African countries to address their health system. Therefore, it is a high time for the African leaders to start somewhere. Then on how to address it, this issue of welfare or good packages of health professionals must also take a look, because now if you take a instance of Nigeria, so many health professionals are moving outside the country, which I assume we call it JAPA of health professionals. That is causing a lot of harm, that is causing a lot of injury to the healthcare delivery in the country. So I think the welfare of the health professionals need to be readdressed with all seriousness.
Talking about adequate infrastructure, would you say that we have enough infrastructure in place in the country? And what more needs to be done to ensure that the workspace is safe and decent for an average worker?
Well, I think if you talk about African context, it's a broad discussion, but let me probably talk about Nigerian context. Well, I think it's very alarming and disheartening. If you go to any of the community now, you can see overcrowded population of patients that are going to that hospital to access healthcare services. So to me, even the hospital infrastructure is not even enough. Then talking about the manpower, you will agree with me, most of these hospitals, they lack manpower. Is looking at the WHO provision that each and every doctor is supposed to, medical doctor is supposed to see a patient of 200 per day. But nowadays, I am very much sure none of the medical doctor is seeing patient not below 500 in a day. And I think this is a very serious issue. We need to take it with all seriousness. Then the issue of 3 tiers of health system. Government must pay positive attention to the primary healthcare health system. Once primary healthcare system was given proper attention, I'm very much sure even the secondary and tertiary level will not have much difficulties, because most of the cases going or looking at tertiary hospitals are primary cases, which are, if they were taken care in an appropriate way at the primary level, I think there is no need of going to secondary health system and even tertiary health system. Then I think the issue of training at our health and medical institutions also need to be adjusted, because the world is changing globally. And I'm very much sure if you take a look at most of our curriculum now, I think it's very, very quite challenging compared to what is happening in other parts of the world.
Recently, the president approved an extension of retirement age for healthcare workers from 60 to 65. what's your take on this, owing to the fact that we know that we have lots of health workers that have migrated out of the country, and we still have to keep some of this experienced hands in the system?
Well, thank you very much. Let me start with the issue of extension of age retirement of health professionals by the federal government. I'm not bragging or rather proud, but Nigeria is blessed with a talent that you can't compete with Nigeria in all other countries in the world when it comes to issue of intelligence, when it comes to issue of talent. I can tell you, go to US, one of the biggest hospitals are managed by Nigerians. So I think when it comes to issue of talent, we are blessed, we have them, and God has provided for us. Then the issue of age retirement, to me, is a very welcome development, because health system is a system where you need to groom those who are coming up. For example, if you have 10 medical doctors that are retired, that are engaged or employed for 20 years, the experiences, the skills they acquired in the process of the daily service delivery, I think cannot be compared with the one that probably employed 5, 10 years. And most of it is not about theoretical aspect, it's more a practical aspect. Therefore, those that has the experience, those that have the skills, honestly, they need to be in the system. Then secondly, the issue of retirement, you will agree with me also, anybody that attend 35 years of working experiences, that is when he has the full technical know-how of that profession. But once in the health industry, if you elongate it to that period, it will enable that personnel to give or to groom up those who are coming up, and I believe the health system will be better. Then issue of migration to outside the country, let me be honest with you, the basic factor is about welfare or the packages that Nigerian government decided to pay to health professionals. Once there is a better package, everybody will decide to remain in his country. So I think let me use this opportunity to call on federal government as a matter of urgency to do everything possible to adjust as well as improve the welfare packages of health professionals.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Yes, a lot is happening in the world of work and in the healthcare sector. And the number of health workers that are migrating from Nigeria to other parts of the country, to other parts of the world, to seek greener pastures seems to be increasing. As a leader of workers in Nigeria, what would be your reaction to this development?
Well, I think this is not the first time we discuss on this issue. It's like it's a recurring issue in this country. This issue of Japa syndrome, a lot of health workers ranging from all professions are living out of the country for greener pasture. Why I think is attributed to so many reasons. The first is the condition of service, and the second one is the environment. If you look at the way the population of this country is growing day by day, there is need for more health workers. But unfortunately, because of the remuneration, workers decided to move out of the country, and there is inflation day by day. So these are some of the reasons why this issue needs to be urgently tackled by government and all stakeholders. So part of what is supposed to be done is more recruitment of health workers, more remuneration and incentives to the health workers, and a lot of things that will attract even other health workers from the neighboring countries to come and work in this country because of our population. But I think there is need for more collaboration between the federal government particularly under the Federal Ministry of Health and all other stakeholders, so that we can equally deal with this menace. If not, I think there should be a time when even the health workers in this country cannot be able to treat our patients.
According to the World Health Organization, Nigeria, not even just Nigeria, most African countries, they are faced with chronic staff shortage. What would be your take on this? Even before the Japa syndrome, we know that there was this ratio between patients and workers that was very wide, not up to the standard by the World Health Organization. What do you think government should be doing at this point in time? Do you think a portal should be open for health workers that probably are in the private sector? Maybe they should join the public sector to strengthen the institution? Or what do you think can be done to ensure that we manage the situation accordingly?
Well, I think this is also very important, not only on the issue of migration. If you look at the issue of retirement, workers are retiring day by day, either by age or by service years, and there is no replacement and there is no recruitment. So obviously, you will encounter shortage of manpower in our health facilities. We have been receiving so many complaints from our health institutions, from our leadership across the country of non-recruitment of staff. And just last year, there was a waiver to Federal Ministry of Health to employ more health workers. But I think up to this moment, that issue is going lightly. So I want to seize this opportunity and urge the Federal Ministry of Health and all those concerned to immediately start recruiting health workers across the country, ranging from all the professions, because seriously there is lack of these health workers across the country. And the best way is for them to recruit new staff so that along the line they will also build on their career, so that they will become specialists, they will become consultants to replace those who have retired from the service. So I think this is very important also. And this lack of manpower in our health facilities is what brings about stress on duties. And at the end of the day, probably you will have an error. So obviously there is need for government to also come to this kind of issue, so that at least we will equally address this issue.
Talking about stress, like you said just now, what is the union doing towards enhancing the well-being of its members, owing to the fact that it's a peculiar situation we're faced with at the moment, and they actually have to still go about their day-to-day activities? How is the union assisting members at this point in time?
Yes, as I said earlier, error in medical profession is a dangerous issue, because with little error, we can lose life. So as a union, what we are doing, especially to our members, is sensitization. To ensure that we sensitize, we train our people on stress management, and at the same time to ensure that they should be calm whenever they are on duty, so that they can do the right thing. Because it's not about how many people you have seen or what you did during that long hours. It's about to provide efficient and effective service delivery. So we usually engage specialists to go around sometimes on zonal level to have sensitization and so on. As I'm talking to you now, we have a zonal women leadership workshop in southwestern part of this country, which is holding off in Lagos presently, with renowned specialists that will sensitize our health workers in that zone, especially on the issue of stress management and other issues related to their capacity building. So as a union, this is the only contribution we can give to our members.
Yeah, also the Deputy President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, and you're also leading the Joeso Fund. What's your take about workers being part of the managerial board, which is the board set up to manage the affairs of parastatals across the country? Specifically to the healthcare sector, you're supposed to be part of the NHIS board. You are not part of it. Do you think the Nigerian people are suffering in one way or the other for workers' input not to be part of the boards that have been constituted already?
Well, as part of the agitations of the health workers, particularly, that's why I belong to, I could remember at the Joint Health Sector Union, which I was opportunity to be leading, one of our agitation is for the Federal Ministry of Health to reconstitute the Federal Ministry of Health or Federal Health Institutions boards, which is very important because our members are also part of the boards, and those boards play a vital role in checkmating the management of the health facilities to provide effective services to our citizens. So I think it's very important. And as a labor, I remember during our last or recent engagement with the federal government, this issue was raised, that there is the need for the federal government to reconstitute the statutory boards, especially the pension trust fund board, because a lot of money were being lost as a result of non-existence of that board. And we also agitate for the need to also inaugurate the National Labour Advisory Committee, which is very important to the labor movement in this country, especially when there is need for peaceful industrial harmony in the country. So this is very important, and I have to lend my voice to call on the federal government to reconstitute these boards at the federal government level, statutory boards, and especially at the health sector level, at the federal health institutions, because they are very important and they can also improve the services of health delivery in this country.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.